buying Canadian movement is getting stronger, and here's why. Now, we've always been proud of some of our amazing Canadian brands like Lululemon, but there are so many quality products that kind of went under the radar before. But with the recent tariff, we're seeing Canadians take to social media to share brands that they are passionate about and make considerable behavioral changes to support our own economy. Us Canadians are determined to slide out of this. If you're new here, hi, I'm Kate, and this is Marketing Over Chai, where I have some great conversations with people about marketing, and I'm also taking a close look at what's affecting brands in North America. Today, we're talking about the tariffs and what might happen. So tune in to catch up. And at the end, I'm going to tell you what Canadian brands can do to build greater connects with their Canadian audiences. Stay tuned. So if you aren't familiar with it, Trump had threatened 25% tariff on all goods with about 10% on energy, which is substantial and particularly difficult when we're already seeing so much struggle with inflation. Now, this caused a very powerful reaction in a lot of Canadians, and TikTok was the perfect place to see this. As TikTokers always share some awesome ideas, this is what they had to say.
Here are some Canadian alternatives to your favorite American brands, part 2. Swap your Silk milk alternatives for Earth's Own. Swap your Lay's chips for Mrs. Vicky's. Wonder Bread for Dempsters. Heinz ketchup for Good Food for Good. And swap your Yoplait for Yogo. And make sure to follow for more.
Now that the illegal trade war is on, let me teach you how to buy Canadian at the grocery store. It is harder than it looks. Let's start with prepared in Canada. To legally say this, the product has to have undergone preparation entirely in Canada, but the individual ingredients could come from anywhere. It's kind of like this one, made in Canada from domestic and imported ingredients. And there's a difference between made in Canada and product of Canada. A big difference. When you see made in Canada, it means at least 51% of the direct costs of production and manufacturing was in Canada, and the last substantial transformation of that product had to have occurred in Canada. That means it turns into a completely new product, like tomatoes becoming ketchup. A much better option than made in Canada is product of Canada. For that, 98% of that product has to be Canadian, and everything, ingredients, labor, production, distribution, all that stuff, product of Canada is the real deal, especially when it's made by a Canadian-owned company. It is a higher threshold and harder to find, but they are there. Remember, made in Canada's threshold is at least 51%. That doesn't mean that it's 51%. It could be as high as 97%, but just didn't quite hit the 98% to get the product of Canada. Also, don't think that just because it has French on it, it's Canadian. By law, all products sold in grocery stores have to have French and English on them. Don't assume that just because the product is from a Canadian-owned company, that the product itself is Canadian, because in some cases, it ain't. And fellow Canadians, remember, be kind to the Americans you see on social media. They didn't want this either. And now, here's your Daily Otis. Said all I am to you.
It has really helped people come together and promote all things Canadian. Let's take a look.
We're in a trade war. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to support Made in Canada. If you live in Canada, it's just become really apparent to you what things are from Canadian companies or made in Canada. And so I think we can all help each other out and post the things that we use all the time that we know are really, really good that are from Canadian companies. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and so I'm going to share with you my tried and true, strong and free, from far and wide, Canadian products. I am not a skincare girly, but I am going to start with skincare. Number 1, I use a ton of products from Canadian company 3 Ships. You might have seen them on Dragon's Den. I use Firm Believer Day Cream. I use Dream Night Cream. This is my favorite one, Rose Hip Vitamin C Clay Mask. I literally have no pores left in my nose. I use a bunch of their other stuff, but for the sake of time, let's keep going. I use Living Libations Oil Cleanser, the sea buckthorn one. It's a cleanser and a moisturizer, and it's made in Canada by people who believe in organic ingredients. My toner is Wildcraft from Toronto. I love this one. It's geranium and orange blossom. Here's one I use every single day of my life. Routine deodorant is the only deodorant I found that doesn't have all the gross stuff in it that actually works, and they have a million different scents and it smells so good, and I recommend it to everybody, and it's Canadian. Okay, next we're gonna get into laundry. I actually use two companies that have Canadian made products. The first is Soak Wash. I use this soak wash for all of my delicate items. And then I use this flatter. I actually use this for quilting, but I also use it. It's like a starch spray for laundry. Another great one to look into, which is actually locally made near me, is called Eucalyptus. Literally, this is just stuff that I like grab from around my house. So if you want me to post more, I can post more. But let's talk about tea. We order Fire Belly tea. It's a new company based out of Montreal by the founder of David's Tea, who is Canadian. One thing I really like about them is that at the back, they tell you where they source all of their ingredients, which country they come from. This all to say though, you don't have to order e-commerce tea. Every town has an amazing tea shop locally nearby. Here's a favorite one I get from my local tea shop. So go out and find some tea that's Canadian made. Okay, this next one my husband found because he is a swimmer and a runner, and he was using those goo packs, and they were wrecking his gut. And so he found this brother and sister owned Canadian company called Sun River Honey. They make these honey gel packs. We also use their jarred honey. Also to say, neighborhood honey is always the best honey, so find whoever makes honey the closest to your house. Here's another one that people ask me about all the time, and I suggest them constantly. These glasses are made by a Canadian company called Kits. They're based out of Vancouver. They have excellent customer service and really good products, and I suggest them all the time. And then just a note to buy Canadian art. This art is from Canadian Dutch painter Jeanette Obank. She's my fave. It does make a difference. Also, all this to say that all of these products you do not have to buy online. There are lots of stores near lots of different urban centers and even some rural centers that carry all sorts of Canadian products, or they make their own products that are similar to these ones I'm showing you. And so if you go to a local store to source stuff, like lots of local stores have Routine, for example, then you're helping two Canadian businesses thrive. And that's it for now. That was just a smattering of like my favorite stuff I grabbed from my house. But I'd love to hear yours, and let's make Canada shine, baby. Go Canada.
TikTokers have come up with the best solution. They're advertising and promoting, the products they're actually swapping. And what's beautiful about this is none of this is paid. This is just genuine TikTokers telling you what is great. And that's what makes this movement so special. It's not paid for, it's genuine. So take a look at some of the solutions that they have found. People are really taking trouble to, spread awareness about buying Canadian and help others make these decisions easily. And one of the things that I was very impressed by, and there are numerous like this, is people have gone ahead and made these Excel sheets with a lot of data in it on like what categories and, very well documented what to buy for what categories, what's the swap, what's the catch, everything. And I find this like really motivating because so many people are really putting in the effort and putting in the work to help people make these better decisions. And this is just one of many examples. I don't know who the author of this one is. I will leave a link to it in the show notes. But if you do know who this is, I would love to give credit to that person. Let me know who it is. The momentum all of these efforts have gained cannot go unnoticed. And we're looking at the Canadian grocers report that KPMG did, where Canadians just want grocers to ditch US products and promote local goods. And promoting local is something that we've always done, but you can see the passion. The numbers will tell you the passion behind what people are saying. As many as 9 out of 10 shoppers, Canadian shoppers, want grocers to promote Canadian products. As many as 70% of Canadian shoppers want groceries shops to just stop selling US products altogether. That's a big number. And according to Kotsia Polycro, which is the partner of the National Consumer and Retail Leader at KPMG Canada, she says there's a significant shift in shopping behavior, which they discovered in a survey they recently conducted. And Canadians are really fighting for Canada. to keep their jobs, to keep the dollars within the community. And this is the sentiment behind that shift. We are seeing a lot of people look to boycott US products altogether. Um, and there's a large number, about like 84% of Canadians say they're reading packages to make sure things are Canadian. And people are trying to understand what that means. What's more is that 77% are willing to pay more for Canadian products, and almost all at like 94% expect their groceries to increase anyway. But the willingness to pay is still there. So that's really something to take note of, and that really says a lot about how much this is impacting everybody. Here's a few things Canadian owned and Canadian companies can do to make sure that they're really connecting with their audience in Canada. One, proudly show off your Canadian. If now is as good a time as any other, but make sure this becomes one of your content pillars, and every week do a post about you being Canadian and why you are proud of that. It is something worth being proud of, and it's worth talking about. Get in on the conversations. We want to hear from you. We want to know what how this is going to impact the brands and what are you all doing. We want to humanize yourself. Let everybody understand what's really going on. Engage in these conversations. The third thing would be like, this is for any business, but find gaps. There might be products that are not made in Canada for whatever reason, but there are other countries in the world that we could possibly source from. So if you can find that kind of a price competitive advantage, now may be the best time to strike. We don't have to be completely dependent on one country, although that might not be the best for us. But with 25% increase, perhaps importing from other places might still be lucrative. I don't know the answer, but that's something worth digging into for sure. And lastly, my message to Canadian businesses will be original, be proud. There's a whole country that supports you, and we're proud of the work that is Canadian. Yep. I hope you enjoyed this video and it gave you some context about what's happening and the trade war that's probably upon us, and also gave you some more power and choices on, what you can do just to contribute in a very small little way. Every drop makes an ocean, right? So staying positive, hoping for the best, and really hoping that the leaders are able to come up with some amicable negotiations. Thank you all for joining in. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do so. I'll be looking at making more of these commentary videos with a little bit of a marketing twist while we go forward, and would love your support and encouragement through likes and shares and comments. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.